Okay, Bava Basra Daf. We're going to begin the Ches Amud Beis. Amar Abaya says, Mereish leHavi Yosef Amar Atzipe Debei Knishta. At first, my master Abaya says about Rabba would not sit on the mast in the shul because they used tzedakah money to buy mats, and he felt that they should not use tzedakah money to buy mats on the floor. Keeping the Shamalei Lahadatanya. So once he heard that what the Raisa says, that it's permitted for the residents of the city to change the purpose towards tzedakah, will be used for whatever they want. Rabbi Yosef, he sat on them. Rabbi says, at first, Rabbi would make two purses, one for the poor of the rest of the world and one for the city. Once he heard that Ovid Chad Kisa, when he heard of the Khalifa says you should make one purse, and make a tanai about it, make a stipulation. Make a stipulation with the people of the city that your money collected will be given to whomever needed it. Yonami Ovid Chad Kisa, he also made one bank account, one purse, and he made it tonight with the people of the city. Rashi said, I did not even need to make this tonight. Whoever comes to donate of this tzedakah fund comes relying on my discretion, and they know that I will give the funds to whoever I want, so I don't have to make this tonight. Gemara tells a story. There were two butchers who made an agreement with each other. They made an agreement with each other that whichever one of them worked on the day assigned to the other according to the agreed the schedule would tear up the hide of the animal that he shechted that day. One of them went and worked on the other's day, and the other butcher tore up the hide of the animal that he shechted. It came from Rava. I'm obligated to pay the butcher who shechted the animal. Asked the question to Rava. Isn't it stated amongst actions that the residents of the city may take and to fine people for violating their specification? In other words, those takanas that the residents passed. So the Gemara says, Rav did not respond. Rav Papa says, he did well and he did not respond. Why? Because this matter applies when there's no important person in the city. And in that case, it's permitted for the residents of the city to draw up takanas of their own. But when there's an Adam Chashav, Lav Kol Kiminai, the Masti does not have the power to make this tonight. Rather, they are required to obtain the approval of the city's leading authority to give force of the regulations. One does not calculate sums with charity collectors concerning. In other words, what does it mean? You don't make sums. You don't calculate sums with charity collectors concerning the money they collected for tzedakah to verify how much they received and how much they distributed. Nor does one calculate sums with the Beis Hamikdash treasurers concerning the property concerning the Beis Hamikdash. Now, even though there's no explicit proof to this matter, but there's an illusion. They did not reckon with the men into whose hands they delivered the money to pay out to the workmen, for they dealt in good faith. Rabbi says, even though a person has a trusted treasurer in his house, who's fully trusted, Yotzer Yimna. So even though a person has a trusted treasurer in his house, he should nevertheless tie up his money and count it. And they tied it in his bag and counted the money. Amr Ravona says, people collect tzedakah examine the level of poverty of one who asks for food. When you ask for food, you can ask questions. They bake in the ksos, but you do not examine the level of poverty for one who asks for clothing. In other words, if a person comes before the tzedakah collectors in like tattered clothes, so he's given clothing without any questions being asked. So I can tell you it's based on a pasuk or there's a logical reason. If you wish, I can tell you it's a logical reasoning. Hi ka mebazi. The one who stands before us in the rags is exposed in contempt. Whereas the one who is hungry, is not exposed to contempt. It says, is it not to share your bread with the hungry? If you read Perish for this shin, it's Perish, which means that, you should examine. And then you should give it to him. So Halei Perish, so you should examine Lachmacha. However, when it comes to clothing, what does it say? When you see the person naked, you cover him, it means immediately. Rabbi Yehuda says the opposite. The charity collectors examine the level of poverty of one who asks for clothing, but not for one who examine the level of poverty of one who asks for food. I can tell you that the one who is hungry suffers. Whereas the one who is tattering clothing does not suffer the same way. It says, is it not to share your bread with the hungry, which is mashma, praise the altar, feed him right away, as you read it. But the word is, in other words, he doesn't read it the way it is. When it comes to clothing, it says, when you see the naked, you cover him. Meaning that when it's clearly apparent to you, after you've investigated the matter and found that he's deserving, then you shall cover him. The pasuk says, cover me, which means you should examine after him. When it comes to food, sustaining, we do not examine. Tanan also learned in the Mishnah there in Peitzim, even Mekiper Pundik. One does not give a poor person who is traveling from place to place, requesting charity, less than a loaf worth of pundion, which is 1/4 of a selah, when the standard price of grain is 4 selah for selah. Alon, if the poor person sleeps in that place, if a poor person sleeps in that place, one gives him provision for lodging. My parnosas lina. What does it mean by provisions for lodging? Amar Papa, Purya Uve Sadna. It means a bed and a pillow. Shavas, if he spends Shabbos in that place, you give him food for 3 meals. Tana was taught in a brisa. If a poor person was going door to door asking for tzedakah, one is not required to attend him and give him money for the charity fund. And there was a certain person who was going door to door requesting tzedakah. Also, who came before the papa, who was the local gizber, the local charity collector. And but the papa did not attend to him. So he told him, if you're not going to attend to him, nobody will attend to him either. So you want to let him die? The Brisa says that if a poor person is going door to door asking for tzedakah, one is not required to attend to him. It means you don't have to give him a large gift since he's already collecting money as he goes door to door. But one does attend to him and give him a small gift. Amar Ravasi, La'ela ma'yimna adam atzmai melasish lishis hashekel b'shana. Person should never prevent himself from giving at least 1/3 of a shekel a year in tzedakah. It says, "Madnu aleinu mitzvahs lasis lenu shlishis hashekel b'shana la'avidus b'salekeno." And we also establish mitzvahs upon ourselves to charge ourselves yearly with the 1/3 part of the shekel for the service of Hashem. Amar Ravasi, Shkula tzedakah keneged kol mitzvahs. Giving tzedakah is equivalent to all the other mitzvahs. Like it says, we also establish mitzvahs upon ourselves. Mitzvah ain't sivkan ela mitzvahs. Doesn't say a mitzvah, but it says mitzvahs in plural. Teaching that this mitzvah is equivalent to all other mitzvahs. Simin gadol mikdash mesha. Amar Blazer gadol hama'asa yoyser min ha'isa. One who causes others to perform ma'aseh tzedakah, a merited act, is greater than the one who performs the act. Like it says, and the causing of righteousness shall be peace, and the work of righteousness quietness, assurance forever. Zacha, if one merits the following pasuk, if a person merits, then the following pasuk is applied. Is it not your share? Is not your to share your bread with the hungry? In other words, he will wholeheartedly give tzedakah to the poor. If it does not merit, then shall bring the poor that are cast out to your house. In other words, he will be compelled by the government to build soldiers in his house to sustain them against as well. Rava said to the people, I beg of you, Usu bahadi hadodi, strive with each other to perform tzedakah and righteousness, so that you will live in peace with the government. Since if you do not act charitable towards each other, you will end up paying fines to the government. When the Beis Hamikdash was standing, a person contributes a shekel and achieves atonement for his sin. Now that the Beis Hamikdash is not around, if he makes tzedakah, it's good for him. The guy will come and take it by force. Alvil became natural in the tzedakah, and even so, the money taken from them by force is credited to them as charity, as it says, "B'neik sayich tzedakah," your oppressors, charity. Amar Rava says, "Hi milsa ishtay le'ula." The following manner was told to me by the infant. Megashish Urkist Imo, who prevented the ways of his mother. Shmeid Rabbi Elazar, in the name of Rabbi Elazar. What does it mean? And he donned charity like a goat of male. Just as a coat of mail. Each and every scale which is fashioned combines to perform one large coat of mail. Every piece of tzedakah combines the cheshbon gadol. All of our charity is a polluted garment. Just as with regards to this garment, each and every thread is combined to form one large garment. Each and every putta combines to form a great sum. Why does this sage call the infant to perform the ways of his mother? From where is it derived that a leper renders a person impure through contact during the 7 days of counting? In other words, during the 7 days that a Mitzvah must count from the start of his purification process, when he brings his birds until he completes the process with the ring of the carbon. Since he renders this garment impure, he also renders the people impure. He said to him, perhaps connected impurity is different. The one who moves an animal carcass, he renders the garment impure. He does not render another person impure. So he said to him, from where do we know that carcass of a creeping animal renders a person impure? Is it not because we know that it renders his garment impure? So he said to him, it says the share is clearly it says, or a man who touches any creeping animal. From where do we derive that a semen rendered a person impure? Our relationship was there. It says clearly, usually rabbis is in a gap. Include one who touches semen. So he responded to her in like a mocking tone. In other words, that he doesn't grasp potato. Sheshus was very offended. So he became mute and forgot his learning. Also, his mother came and wept for the Sheshus. She cried, but no, we didn't pay attention. So she said to him, look at these breasts of mine from which you suckled. Upon hearing this, of Sheshus davened for mercy, and he was healed. Since it was a daf-yomi whose behavior led to his mother's acting in this manner, he was referred to as the infant who perverted his mother's ways. With regard to which we arrived at, from where do we know that a Mitzera renders impure a person with whom he comes into contact during the days of counting? It says washing garments is stated with regard to respect to the days of counting, and washing garments is stated with regard to the days of confirmed leprosy. So just as there he renders a person impure, a person who performs acts of tzedakah in secret is greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. By Moshe Rabbeinu it says, for I was afraid of the anger or the wrath. It says, a gift of secret pacifies anger, and a present in the bosom of fierce wrath. He argues and says a secret gift pacifies anger, but it does not pacify wrath. It says in a present in the bosom of fierce wrath, meaning that although a present is in his bosom, in other words, even if one gives stuck in the secret, nevertheless, fierce wrath can still harm him. Anybody that takes bribery, he brings wrath into the world. Okay, weiter. Anyone who gives a pruta to a poor person, is blessed with 6 brachas. But a person who consoles him with the words, he gives him 6 blessings. It says, is it not your share, and you shall bring the poor that cast out to the house when you are naked. Gets 11. It says the suffix thereof. And if you draw out your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall your light shine in darkness, and your gloom shall be as noonday, and Hashem shall guide you continuously and satisfy your thirst. And they shall be of you shall build the old waste places, you shall raise up the foundation of many generations. What does it mean? He who pursues charity and mercy finds life, charity, and honor. Because one who purchased charity himself shall find charity. That is, shall the reward for one who always given tzedakah be that he will eventually become poor and other people will act charitable towards him. Tells you, anyone who pursues tzedakah, giving to the poor and leading others to do so, Hashem furnishes him with money with which to perform acts of tzedakah. Yeah, one more. Hashem sends him people who are deserving of tzedakah, so that he will reap his reward for helping him. Apuki might exclude what? What does it mean? Let them be made to stumble before you deal with us with them in the time of your anger. Even those, when those wicked men who pursued me subdue their inclination and seek to perform acts of tzedakah before you, suffer. So even when those wicked men who pursued me subdue their inclinations and seek to perform acts of tzedakah before you, cause them to stumble upon dishonest people who are not deserving of tzedakah, so that they will not receive reward for coming to their assistance.